Good morning and happy Tuesday. Merry Christmas. It's almost Christmas, y'all. I'm so excited. Can you tell? Can you tell? I'm Jenny Gallagher with Joyful Heart Healthcare and Keto Nurses. It feels like something's in my eye. Of course it is. I'm live. So good morning. Good morning. I'm excited to be with y'all today. We'll give everybody a minute to get their notification and join us for Coffee with Jen. Although I've been up since like 5:30 this morning, already working and doing stuff. So I'm already out of coffee. I'm already on my water. So good morning. How is everybody doing today? All right, so we'll give everybody just a minute to find their notifications while I figure out. Oh, it was an eyelash. So sorry about that. But good morning, good morning. So I have prizes to ship out. I'm hoping to get them mailed this week by the end of the week. So I'm going to do shipping labels in the next couple days and get them mailed. So I'm excited. Thank y'all so much for sharing posts. Continue to share even without the bribery of winning something, because the more things you share from our page, the more people's lives you're going to touch. So you may think nobody's listening. You may think that the post isn't touching someone, but it will. Somebody is going to be pricked. It's kind of like religion, y'all. Nutrition and religion have a lot of things in common. Just when you think nobody's listening, nobody's going to be converted, nobody's going to believe what you say, just when you think it's not going to matter, somebody that you thought never would reach out sends you a private message and they say, tell me a little bit about that post you shared. Who is that Joyful Heart person? Who is that Jenny Gallagher person? Tell me more about that vitamin D post you shared. Tell me more about that protein thing. Tell me more about that keto thing. Just when you think nobody was listening because nobody liked it, nobody commented, you'll be shocked to know that somebody was paying attention. It was passing across somebody's feed, and you were planting seeds all along. Okay? So there are studies that show that we have to see something, I think it's like 28 times before we believe it or are drawn into that thought process. So you just have to keep sharing, y'all. So I really appreciate it. I gained about 30 or 40 followers over the past few weeks. So that's good. I'm hoping that more and more people will continue to share posts on the page. Not because I want more people to follow me, but because I want more people to hear the truth about nutrition. It's not about me. It is about the message that I share about food and nutrient density. Because mainstream's nutrition advice is absolutely terrible. I had a nurse practitioner message me a few days ago, a week or so ago, telling me about someone that she knew who had sought out advice about health problems and labs, spent massive thousands of dollars on this lab evaluation, only to be told you need to go vegetarian and eat high grain intake, and that's going to fix all your problems. And I'm like, poor guy, because that's like not going to fix the problem. It's going to make everything worse. And so now, because of the money invested, this patient is going to go down a path that's going to make him sicker before he figures out that it was wrong. And a lot of times that has to happen. Sometimes education has to occur by making choices and living out those choices. So what I suggested is have labs before, have labs at some point after 6 months, a year, compare them. And when there's no improvement or worsening, then this patient may be convinced to try a different path. And so hopefully that will happen. But it's really important to have labs because that's the chemistry. That's where all of this starts. And that's what really matters is the chemistry. The cell works on chemistry. If we don't provide adequate support for the cell, then we're not providing adequate support for the body. And that's what really matters. So good morning. I see lots of people are joining us. Good morning. Good morning. Debbie Brown says, I've been sharing for months. I know you have, and I appreciate every single share, Debbie. So thank you. Thank you. Lots of people are joining. So today we're going to talk about something a little more sciencey. We're going to talk about the Krebs cycle. So for those nurse practitioners and other healthcare professionals that follow me, you'll recognize this topic. The Krebs cycle is what the cell uses to produce energy. We're not going to go into detail. I'm going to try to give you this in the most simple version possible because this is real sciencey. You can dig down into this very deep. You can Google or do an internet search for the Krebs cycle if you want more specific down to the nitty-gritty molecules. I'm not going that deep. Most of you don't want that much information. I'm going to give it to you as it impacts your health, as it impacts nutrition, as it impacts your specific issues. So basically, the Krebs cycle is how the body produces energy. So what we call energy in the lay world, like how you function and feel energetic, is a molecule that we call ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the actual molecule of energy. So if you remember your physics and science rules from way back in the day, you may remember a rule that says energy cannot be created, but what? Anybody remember the rest of that law? Energy cannot be created, but somebody finish that for me. Does anybody remember? Come on, people. I know some nurse practitioners are watching. I know some smart people, sciencey brains are watching. Energy cannot be created, but da 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 da. What is the da 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 da? Anybody remember? Come on, help me out here, y'all. Energy cannot be created, but come on, I'm going to give it to you in a minute. You know that. It is a little bit of an answer, so that's why I'm waiting for you to type. It's not just a quick one-word yes or no answer. So for typists that are a little bit slow on the fingers this morning, I'm going to give you a minute to type that out. Energy cannot be created, but what? Fill in the blank with the rest of that sentence. Do y'all remember what that is? Energy cannot be created, but what? Anybody remember what the rest of that sentence is? Okay, energy cannot be created, but is transformed from one form to the other. So that's how we have energy. We are not energy, but we consume food that is transformed into energy. And so, yes, Elizabeth, good job. Yes, yes, yes. So, yes, it's transformed. So we build a fire. We take wood and we light it, and that wood material becomes heat energy as it evaporates and burns. So we transform food into energy in the Krebs cycle. So that's what the Krebs cycle is. It is the literal production of ATP molecules that the body uses for energy production. So lots of molecules, lots of ingredients go into ATP production. We're not going to talk about all those. There's a bunch, okay? We're going to do a very simple, really simple, broken down version. So if your body needs energy, the mitochondria produce it. Everybody wave at the train. There he goes. Bye, train. So the mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Remember that from biology way back in the day? Mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell because that's the energy producing tower in the cell of the body. So when your body needs energy for function, for blinking your eyes, for waking up in the morning, for your heartbeat, for muscle movement, for pointing your finger, for waving at the train, for whatever bodily function you need to perform, you are going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of cells creating ATP within the mitochondria. It's like these massive energy production powerhouses, okay? So inside the mitochondria are these lots of ingredients that come together. So some of those ingredients are oxygen. Remember, oxygen is required for energy. Does anybody remember how your body gets oxygen? Anybody remember how the body gets oxygen delivered to body cells? Remember how that happens? Anybody want to guess? How does the body get oxygen delivered to body cells for energy use? How does the body get oxygen for body cell function? That's way back up line. How does the cell get oxygen? There's one particular cell that delivers oxygen. Breathing is way back up line of that process, Elizabeth. You're on the right track, but that's way back up line. I'm talking about at the very specific oxygen delivery system. How does the body get oxygen delivered to the cell for energy production? Remember ferritin? How is ferritin utilized? Debbie Brown, ding, 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 you win the prize. Red blood cells. Red blood cells deliver oxygen to the body cells. Which body cells? The ones producing energy. Okay? So oxygen is dropped off by the red blood cell so the mitochondria can produce energy in the Krebs cycle for during ATP production. So oxygen is dropped off, glucose is dropped off, lots of molecules come together in and around the cell during ATP production. The mitochondria pull specific ingredients into the powerhouse, into the mitochondria for that energy production. When glucose is utilized in the Krebs cycle, one glucose molecule comes into the Krebs cycle and it produces 2 ATP molecules of energy. Oh, somebody shot us some balloons. So, one glucose molecule gives us 2 ATP molecules. Okay? So, that's not a great bang for your buck, really. That's like spending a quarter and getting, 50 cents worth of stuff back. Not great. Not a terrible investment, but not great either. However, if you have protein that's breaking down, protein comes from meat. So if you're a low carb person and your carbs are so low that you don't have enough carbs to provide glucose for the Krebs cycle, then gluconeogenesis will occur and that path of least resistance will kick in. We've talked about this before. Think about a sand pile. If you have a pile of sand and you pour water at the top of the sand pile, where is that water going to run? Is it going to run to the top, or is it going to run down the side? It's going to run down the side. Is it going to run through any rocks, pebbles, or mounds? No, it's going to follow the path of least resistance. If it hits a little mound of sand or a pebble, it's not going to jump up over that. It's going to go around that mound or pebble, following the path of least resistance. That's just how gravity works. We have physics and chemistry laws here at work, y'all. Our bodies are not going to violate those laws that are put in place. It just can't. Okay? So, following the path of least resistance, then, proteins are the next easiest chemical to get glucose molecules from. So if glucose isn't available because you are so low carb, then the body will say the next easiest thing to get glucose molecules from is a protein molecule. So we'll break down these amino acids. We'll convert some of this into glucose through gluconeogenesis in the liver, and I'll have glucose molecules that I need to go into this process. No big deal. Okay? Really quick, really easy. Okay? If you are checking your glucose levels, you can see this happen. Glucose from carbohydrates will spike, or you'll see a rise at about 2 hours in your bloodstream. But if you are monitoring with a CGM or checking frequently through the day, you will see a protein rise in glucose levels at about 4 or 5 hours. So you can tell if you're over consuming protein by that testing. You can tell at 4 to 5 hours if you get a glucose level going up, oh, this is protein. I had way too much protein at that meal. And that can help guide how much your body actually needs. It's really simple. You just use a glucose meter. You can buy glucose meters over the counter if you have a prescriber who will write a prescription for a continuous glucose meter, CGM. That's great. I think those should be over the counter. Everybody that wants a CGM should get one. CGMs are these little devices you just wear on the back of your arm, and it monitors your glucose 24/7. You can tell if it's going up, down, or staying stable. Great tool to help you learn what's good for you and what's not so good for you as far as glucose. Now, it doesn't test insulin. It will not tell you that there's a boatload of insulin coming out to keep your glucose in check. It won't tell you that. So if you're an insulin resistant person, you're only going to get part of that picture with a CGM. We don't have a tool yet for measuring insulin at home. We just have a glucose meter, okay? So keep that in mind. But if you're consuming carbohydrates, that's the first thing that will be converted to glucose. If you're low carb, thinking you're not consuming very many carbohydrates, if you're keto, if you're carnivore, ketovore, then you're not going to have many glucose molecules available for the Krebs cycle. Your body's going to use the next easiest thing, which is proteins. Well, if you're not consuming adequate proteins, or this is what I find a lot in my practice and a lot of my patients, they're eating enough protein, it's coming into the system, but for some reason they're not absorbing that protein. And so the body thinks there's not enough protein available, therefore that's a problem. And that creates a next step thing. The typical next step is to use fats. So carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are the 3 macronutrients the body uses for energy. So if carbohydrates aren't being consumed, proteins aren't being consumed well or appropriately or absorbed right, then the body will start using fats. If you're not consuming fats, let's say that you have been going low carb, but you're still listening to some mainstream advice that says, oh, well, fats are unhealthy, I shouldn't have them either. So now you're low carb and low fat, but you're trying to consume a decent amount of protein, but for whatever reason, you're not absorbing it. Things just aren't going right because you're just learning all this stuff and you're not sure what to do yet. So now the body's low carb and low fat, not much protein, you're really unsure. Well, now the body is a chemical machine trying to figure out what's going on. It's going to use glucose, proteins, and fats in that order because of the complexity of the chemistry. It's going to use carbs first for glucose, proteins next for glucose, and fats last. Fats will break down into glycerol molecules. That's what makes triglycerides. Okay, triglycerides are one of the cholesterol panel. Triglycerides are the most worrisome of the cholesterol numbers because they contribute to insulin resistance and disease. None of the other cholesterol numbers mean squat. Okay, if your LDL is high, you need to find out why it's high. You don't need to lower LDL. You need to find out why your body is trying to fix a problem, okay? But triglycerides are a glycerol molecule, 3 of them, 3 glycerol molecules from glucose, okay? So fatty acids will break down into glucose molecules to enter the Krebs cycle to produce ATP, okay? So let's think just a moment. We said that one glucose molecule can enter the Krebs cycle producing 2 ATP molecules. But did you know one fatty acid molecule can enter the Krebs cycle and produce 128 molecules of ATP? You tell me what's more efficient for the body. I'm waiting. You tell me what your body was really created to run on, glucose or fats? The Krebs cycle is a chemistry process. You can't change how it works. I can't change how it works. It's a scientific process. We can watch it, monitor it. We can watch it in mice in the lab, in rats in the lab. It's a very similar process in rats and mice. We test it all the time in the lab. We can see it and watch it. It doesn't alter very much between the animals and us. The Krebs cycle is the Krebs cycle. We can put things in it to see what happens to it. We can add or take away chemicals in the process and watch what happens, but the process is the same. So you tell me, was the body really created to run on glucose, carbohydrates, or was the body created to run on fats? If you only get 2 glucose ATP molecules from one glucose molecule, but you get 128 of them from ATP, from fatty acids, which one is more efficient for us? Think about periods of famine. Think about mankind hundreds and thousands of years ago during hunter-gatherer days. Like, would they have survived to today living on glucose and carbohydrates? No, we wouldn't be here today if we were designed to live on carbohydrates alone. We don't have the teeth makeup to survive on carbohydrates alone. We just don't. We don't have the stomach. Like, look at animals in the animal kingdom that live on grains and grasses and vegetables alone. Their teeth, their digestive tract is completely different than humans. It's completely set up differently. The Krebs cycle gives you a huge clue as to how our bodies were designed scientifically, chemically, to burn fats rather than glucose selectively. So we have to provide fats to provide adequate energy for the ATP production in the Krebs cycle. Okay? So if you are wondering about proteins break down into the same glucose, so you're still going to get one glucose molecule to produce 2 ATP. You're not going to get any difference. It's the same. Fats are the only energy producer that provides the 128 molecules of ATP. So what y'all think about all that? Okay, Debbie's right. It's butter, butter, butter. Butter is by and large your absolute best source of fat. There's a bunch of reasons for that. We talked about butter a few weeks ago. I did a whole video just on butter. I'll review a couple things. But number one, butter feeds healthy gut bacteria. Butter contains vitamin A, which is essential for protein absorption. This is the number one problem when I look at patient labs and I see protein levels low, but patients report high protein intake. If you're eating a lot of protein, but your protein levels are low, the first thing I ask my patients is, how much butter do you consume with your meat? The first thing they'll say is, I put butter in my coffee. Well, how much meat are you eating with your coffee? Most say none, because they eat that. They have their coffee first thing in the morning, and they don't have their meat till later in the day. Well, that's not going to help their protein absorption. The timing isn't right. The butter has to come in exactly at the same time as your meat for you to use the vitamin A in the butter for the protein absorption. Y'all, it's all about nutrition. It's about the nutrients. They all work together to provide growth for the cell, cellular respiration, the Krebs cycle, cellular division, for all of the cellular processes the body needs. All of these nutrients have to come in at the right time, usually together, not separated one thing at a time. Okay? That's why I tell patients, take all your vitamins and supplements together. There's hardly anything that must be taken by itself. Usually it's just thyroid medicine. That's the only thing that has to go by itself. Most everything else, the body is used to getting it from food because all of your nutrients are in food. So that's why we put supplements in at the same time, so that all of those nutrients come in at the same time. Okay? Butter is important for protein absorption. Okay? Butter is also vital for cellular division. Cells divide. They create new cells. Well, the whole cell membrane is a fatty layer of tissue. That whole outside edge of the cell is a layer of fat. If you don't consume enough fats, the cellular structure of your cell will not hold up. You want to know why you have various inflammatory conditions? Your cells are not in good health. Your skin is unhealthy. You're not giving your body enough fats and proteins to support good cellular division and replication. So it's really important that we consume adequate fats, mostly in the way of butter. Okay, butter, 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 butter is really important for lots of reasons. Okay, but vitamin A is in butter in high amounts, and not many other fats contain that much vitamin A. So vitamin A is essential for protein absorption. Okay. Questions? Any other comments or questions? The Krebs cycle is way more complicated than that, but that's the basic gist of things. Krebs cycle produces energy. Lots of things go into the Krebs cycle, but ATP comes out. Oxygen goes in. You want to know why you're tired all the time? Oxygen is not getting into the Krebs cycle appropriately. Maybe because your ferritin's low, maybe because you're not consuming enough protein or enough fats. Whatever the problem is, you're needing to support mitochondrial production of ATP. That's what it boils down to. Sometimes it's T3. Thyroid is a massive influence on mitochondrial production of ATP. Like I said, there are lots of ingredients that go into the cell to produce energy, ATP, in the mitochondria, and free T3 is one of them. If your thyroid is low, you will be tired. If your ferritin is low, you will be tired. There are lots of ingredients that help produce ATP. Glucose, proteins, and fats are just part of that process. Okay? Questions about any of the Krebs cycle, energy production, or anything else? Let's see if we've got any comments or questions. Several of y'all have said good morning and Merry Christmas. So good morning and Merry Christmas to everybody. Any other questions? I highly recommend, I mentioned this before, but I highly recommend a CGM. If you can get your prescriber to write a prescription for a CGM, which is a continuous glucose monitor, you just stick it on the back of your arm and you wear it for 2 weeks at a time. Insurance will not cover it unless you have type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes as a diagnosis. If you do not have that as a diagnosis, you can pay cash out of pocket for it. If you use a GoodRx coupon, you can get it usually for less than $100. Pull up the GoodRx app on your phone and price it in your area at your local pharmacies. It's different prices in different places. Sometimes you can search the company coupons online and find it for less than that. But do some research and find a way to get it. I write prescriptions for my patients when they ask. I usually write for several refills. So even if you only use it 2 weeks now and 2 weeks in 4 or 5 months, you know, that's fine. You don't have to use it every day forever. Just using it on occasion every couple of months, every few months, will help teach you something. So it's good for about 2 weeks at a time. It's a 14-day meter that you use to help guide your eating patterns. It checks only glucose, but it won't tell you anything about your insulin release. If you're mostly having trouble with insulin, it may or may not be helpful. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're wanting to get a CGM. It tells you only about your glucose. Debbie says, love the way you break things down for us to understand. Yeah, thanks, Debbie. I try. Other questions or comments? So I do have prizes to get in the mail. If you have not sent me a text with your mailing address, check the Facebook page, the Joyful Heart Facebook page, and find where I said to let me know what address to ship to, what your shirt size is. I have some t-shirts and some gift cards to mail, and let me know what to do about all that. Then the next couple weeks, we are going to be hanging out with our kids for Christmas. So I will not be doing a Facebook Live for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll be back live in January. So I will miss hanging out with y'all, but I'm going to hang out with my kids instead for a little bit. Mary, all my videos stay up forever. I never take any of them down. So next year, I will be taking some down because I'll be replacing them with newer content. That's the only time, but it'll be because I have newer ones that cover the same material. There's no point in duplicating them. So as I replace them, I will take old stuff down, but the same content will stay on the page. You'll still be able to find stuff. So hopefully that helps y'all understand energy production and the path of least resistance. That's really important to grasp. So many people, even prescribers, nurses, doctors, PAs, nutritionists, even lots of really smart people don't quite grasp gluconeogenesis and how that impacts our glucose levels or energy production. And so this video may help some of y'all understand that a little bit. But gluconeogenesis is a real thing. If you're going low carb, if you're going keto, your glucose impacts change a little bit. Your body will still get glucose from other places because it can make it. It can create it from other ingredients. That's why you don't have to consume them. That's why carbs are a completely non-essential nutrient. There's never a need to consume carbohydrates ever. Somebody asked me the other day, what vegetables does my child need to eat? And I was like, none. Like meat is essential. Meat and fat are essential. That's it. Nothing else is essential. You just got to have meat and fat. There are no essential carbohydrates. So you don't have to have them. They're just nice to add variety to your plate. So hope this has been helpful. I hope y'all all enjoy a wonderful next couple of weeks with your families and friends. If you are spending the holidays in a sad mode, find someone to spend some time with that will not let you be so mopey. Try to find a way to serve somewhere. Find a way to not be so mopey and sad. We miss a lot of our family this time of year that have gone on. And it can be a really tough time. So I get that. But I really hope that you will not dwell in that place. That's not a healthy place, and that's not where any of us want you to be for the holiday season. So I implore you to find a way to be a little bit joyful this season and hopeful for the next year and for our future. Okay? So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see y'all in January. This is Jenny Gallagher with Joyful Heart Healthcare.